Hello. In this video, we are joined by staff, students, and faculty from the College of Lake County in a panel discussion. This discussion originally recorded on February 6, 2021 at the 38th Profiles in Excellence, an annual Black History Month celebration. The conversation, moderated by CLC Multicultural Coordinator Beverly Phelps, covers the importance of Black history and the power of the Black voice. Please enjoy this panel.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending. I would like to introduce our student panel along with our faculty panel from the College of Lake County. So we would have Finest Alexander, Jermaine Hilton, Willie Mitchell Jr. These are all our executive board of the Black Male Excellence at the College of Lake County. And also I want to introduce Dr. Perry Benson Jr., a sociology instructor, and Dr. Greg Gordon, a history instructor. Okay, they're popping up slowly. Okay, thank you all. So I have a few questions I would like to ask the students, then Dr. Benson, and then Dr. Gordon. So the students, and remember, we don't have a lot of time, so be brief, but be informative. So whichever one wants to answer, what did you learn from interviewing the community members for the Dunn Museum Black History Project?
I learned they put a lot of work in over the years to promote Black unity and excellence throughout our community.
I've noticed myself that there's so much history in Lake County, especially in our areas, that has gone unknown. Many of us don't know these individuals we've interviewed before, and it's a wonderful thing that we're able to express these individuals and the things that they've done and accomplished for us in our communities here.
I would say I learned a lot about what they've been through. They have a lot of good stories in their life. They've been through a lot in their life, and also they gave us good tips on how to just carry ourselves as men, especially as Black men.
Great. So as future leaders yourselves, how can you continue the movement for Black Lives Matter?
I think the biggest thing we need to do is just keep our voices and make sure our voices are heard. As many times as Black youth, we feel like our voice is not needed or not necessary and not able to be heard, but we have more impact than we believe that we do.
Yes, I would go back to what Willie's saying. I think we should keep our voices heard and also speak up for the unheard.
Yeah, I think we should definitely always speak our voices for the Black community, things like that. And while we're just in our everyday lives, you continue to speak up.
Okay, so last questions for our students. Why should we celebrate Black History Month?
Well, I mean, we are Black history. When we learn about Black history, we learn about ourselves, our ancestors, those that came before us and instilled the pathways and the ways for us to thrive on a regular basis. It's only been a couple of years or a couple 100 years, I should say, that we've been able to vote, been able to have the same rights as everybody else. So just being able to appreciate those things that we have today that we take for granted on a regular basis is one of the big reasons why we should always remember Black history.
I think that it's important because there's so much Black history that we don't learn in school, and they give us this that we're used to. There's so much more before slavery and all that, and I think it's just important for Black kids, especially Black kids, to learn that and just show the importance where they come from.
Yeah, I think Black history is so important because our ancestors worked so hard to get it, and right now we're living it in the moment. So I think they're very proud of us. It's a proud movement to stand behind because it's something that is well deserved, and it should be celebrated for the distance that we've come along with it.
Great. So stay right there, young men, as I bring in Dr. Benson, sociology instructor. So Dr. Benson, do you think it's important that faith communities be involved with Black Lives Matter?
All right, thank you for your question. Is it important? Absolutely, critically important for faith communities to be involved in such causes if they believe in those causes. And so if they don't believe in it, then, but if they do, right, and they should, right, as the Black Lives Matter movement has been a platform to address many of the injustices and the social ills that simply are presented in this world. And I thought of an old adage, some years back. I'm a graduate, a proud alumni of University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Our mascot is the Fighting Illini. When I got there as a freshman way back in 1997, the mascot looked to be a Native American symbol. And when I got there again as a freshman, I didn't know any better. I was proud again representing my Fighting Illini and my logo and my gear and all. But once I found out that this was an offensive issue and it was a matter of disrespect to a particular population, then now I became an advocate, and I was glad to say I was a part of the movement that got rid of that mascot. With that same story being stated, if as the faith communities, again, we're talking about the people of God who believe in a sovereign almighty God, if we believe in a God of truth and justice and righteousness, if we see people being victimized, then it's absolutely critical and necessary for faith communities to be involved in such movements, including and especially as of late, something like the Black Lives Matter movement.
Okay, great answer. So as a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, which Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a member of, describe your feelings on what he would think about today.
All right, another excellent question, and thank you for asking. So what possibly, again, this is just my perspective of Dr. Benson about our dear departed brother, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and what would he think about today? And thinking about that question, in some areas, I think politically, economically, if Dr. King were to look at the state of right now, he wouldn't be surprised. I say that because we're talking about a man who was a leader who literally lost his life because of a lot of hatred, a lot of divisiveness, a lot of just different agendas that was going on then in the country, right? And still going on now. And so again, this was a man who was very astute to the temperature, if you will, of the time. And again, some of the same apathy still exists. So politically, economically, I don't think he would be surprised. Spiritually, the atmosphere now, we are, in a time in a land, and whenever it started happening, maybe the 80s or the 90s, from when they began to take prayer out of schools and all of these different things. And now for the last maybe 20 years, the main time you will see civic or political leaders to come on TV or come out publicly and say, we need to pray, it's usually only in response to a natural tragedy. Issues with that, problems with that, problematic. Now, finally, as a sociologist, as a sociology professor, and it's something that I get a chance to convey to the students that I get to work with, in lieu of with Dr. King, I think that he will be absolutely, as I am, proud of the work of our youth, of the energy of our youth, of the connectedness of our youth, and what they're able to do. And as my background has this image of the world, today's youth, college students, high school students, they get to communicate, right, with youth from across the globe, right? And Dr. King's time, where he was advocating for little boys, little black boys, and little black girls to be able to, or white girls to be able to connect together, we get to see this now. And so I believe Dr. King would be glad to see, again, some of the efforts and the fruit of his labor during this time.
Great answer, Dr. Benson. So now, Dr. Gordon, how has the conflict over Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, showed up in your dialogues with your students or in your community?
Yes, from my experience during the summer semester of last year with my U.S. history classes, of which I mostly teach U.S. history. I also teach African American history as well, but particularly with my U.S. history classes. And for most of my classes, I have mostly white students. And it was a teachable moment, as one might say. And it gave me the opportunity to sort of juxtapose what we were learning in class historically and how it connects to what was happening at that moment in the year 2020, especially over the summer with the death of Breonna Taylor, the death of George Floyd, and countless other African Americans who lost their lives by virtue of police brutality, harassment, so on and so forth. And during that experience, we had a lot of very rich and spirited discussions. We were able to hone in on past situations like Emmett Till and many others, where this is not particularly new. And I think it was very revealing for a lot of my students to kind of see that this is not some recent event. This is not some new phenomenon. This has been going on for decades, if not centuries. And with that in mind, I was able to have my students go in a slightly different direction and a slightly different direction of what I originally intended in class. And typically I have multiple writing assignments. That's just the nature of the history field. But I decided to change one of the writing projects to one with an emphasis on social justice. And it gave my students an opportunity to really focus in on the Black Lives Matter movement, what transpired over the summer with the demonstrations and everything else. And for some of my students, they actually had a chance to participate in some of the Black Lives Matter demonstrations, and they were able to relate some of those personal accounts and experiences through their writings. And I also had them do sort of analysis of social media and to kind of get a sense of what was taking place across the country through their social media connections. And it proved to be a very impactful and very just a tremendously great experience for my students. So I would say overall, to kind of address that issue, I think for a lot of our students, this is not just something theoretical. It's not some abstract that you learn in a history book. All you have to do is turn on the news, and what you see on the news today directly connects to what takes place in the past, especially if you look at history in a very precise way, you will always find overlap. So I think that was very instructive for our students, and our students were able to see things from a different light and perspective as a consequence.
Great. So what are your most memorable memories of Black history? And have we gotten any further, or do we still have a long way to go?
Oh, I definitely would have to say that we still have a long way to go in race relations, racial progress, equity, inclusion, diversity. Those are goals that we still have to realize. From my personal experience, I became very much acquainted with Black history when I went to college at Illinois State University, the rival of the University of Illinois. Just want to throw that in the face of Dr. Benson, the rival from down the street. But when I was at Illinois State University my freshman year, I became very active in the Black Student Union, and I was the activities chairperson. And as the activities chairperson, I was given this budget, which I'd never worked with money before, so it was kind of interesting to me. And I kind of sat down with people on the committee to kind of come up with a great Black History Month and programs and activities. So it gave me an opportunity to bring to our campus at that time, the late Yolanda King, the daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We were also able to bring in the late Julian Bond, who was a social activist and civil rights activist, as well as the late Dr. Benjamin Hooks, former president of the NAACP. So we're able to bring in to our campus a lot of dynamic speakers during Black History Month over the years in which I was active with the Black Student Union. That was a very enriching experience for me. And of course, fast forwarding, when I became employed at the College of Lake County, not to kind of toot our own horn, but with people like you, that is Beverly Phelps, George Tenon, Johan Cotton, they do a dynamic and great job in providing a wide variety of programs on our campus related to Black History Month and just throughout the calendar year. And without them, we wouldn't have a lot of enriching experiences for our students. So I want to tip my hat, if you will, tip my kofe to the three of you. Johan Cotton is not here, but she's here in spirit, so to speak. But I am just endlessly impressed with what you all do for us and for our students.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. So I just have a couple more questions. Anyone can answer these questions as they see fit. So who are your movement role models that inspire you to be powerful in social and racial justice, and who can you learn from? Anyone can answer that question.
Um, a role model that I look up to is Muhammad Ali. Not only was he great, in the sport that he did, the way he trained for, prepared for it, but he was also activist too, religious man, and he stood behind everything that he worked for, wanted to achieve as a black man. So I think he's a really good role model, one that I admire.
Anyone else?
I would say one for me would be Dr. King. You know, he was able to use his voice. And the one thing that I'm looking forward to as well is using my voice to make a change in our communities. So being able to listen to him, the words he has spoken, how it touched and inspired everyone's hearts, you know, that's one amazing thing I feel like it is wonderful for our history.
For me, I would say somebody I look up to would be Malcolm X. I think he was just very he stood his ground. He was very vocal. He wasn't afraid to voice his opinion, and I think people can learn from him because it teaches you not to I guess take anything from anybody and just stand up for yourself. So yeah.
And then just to add to finance really quickly, you know, other people we can look up to now is our everyday people, our communities, the young Black youth, because we're steadily making changes every single day as the young men and women are on this call right now. You know, every single day is a movement to get better and better within our lives and our communities.
Mhm. Any other doctors?
I guess for me, and this is something Congressman Snyder brought up, my role model would have been Muhammad Ali. I just admired his boldness, his tenaciousness, and I just admired the fact that he was active on the political scene and kind of stood to his principles, paid the price for it, and he still persevered at the end of the day. So he was one who did not back down from who he was. He was very authentic, and that is something that could very much be appreciated even to this day. And I will also have to say that, unfortunately, the recent passing of Hank Aaron was also one of my personal idols. So I've always admired sports figures. That's just me. But just growing up, both of those men had a tremendous impact in shaping who I am as a person today.
Dr. Benson.
Indeed, one of my probably greatest inspirations has always been another alpha man, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. So Du Bois, again, famed to be the first African-American to get his PhD from Harvard University, early sociologist that did some amazing work around issues around race and social justice and equity over 100 years ago. And a lot of the content, much of the content and the spirit, it can help us today. And so that is one person that has always been an inspiration. And who can we learn from? As I heard comments from my esteemed panelists, fellow colleagues, we can learn from those of us who've gone before us and who are doing the work right now, from the youth who are committed, like seriously committed in this sacrifice. I have to go back and just make one final comment about Dr. King and his legacy. And even in learning about certain aspects of his life, he really, because of the academic he was, because of the scholar that he was, because of the family that he came from, he really did not have to be advocating for the poor people that he was that he ended up eventually losing his life for. He didn't. He could have had a cushy job at some university or something like that, but he chose, right? I think he followed the calling that was on his life. He followed a greater passion and purpose. And so the men and women in our history, the Ida B. Wells Barnett's, the women, those heroes and sheroes that have gone again before us that have sacrificed, those are the ones that I look to and I'm inspired and encouraged and reminded by.
Okay, great. One last question. Do you think the new administration, Biden and Harris, can help make a difference and reunite us together again?
Personally, I believe yes. You know, with any new administration, there's always new change to come. You know, and this has actually been a movement that's allowed individuals to speak, especially young African American women, to see like they do have a voice. Many times their voice is shadowed, by any other person, by any other individual. But this is a time for us to say all voices do matter at this point.
Anybody else?
I believe if done right, it has a lot of potential to unite and fix a lot of things.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today, especially our students who are our future leaders. They also represent Black male excellence at the college, because we know that the college launches champions. So these are going to be our future champions. And we appreciate your time. Dr. Gordon, Dr. Benson, we thank you all also for the great work you do in educating our students into the future.
To learn more about the Dunn Museum and the Lake County history, visit us at lcfpd.org/museum, and please subscribe to our channel below to stay updated on the latest videos.